guys and gals, I'm back. I know this is late, sorry, I've been very busy and ill the last week, so it took me a long time to read my books, and then really I just haven't been up to being in front of the camera. I've been looking pretty bad, just been in bed the last couple of days, but just want to show you what I picked up. I'm just a few thoughts on some of my books, the books that I really enjoyed. I won't be doing a full review show this week, sorry. But anyway, we'll start off with show you what I've got recently. Not comic book related, but some people might like it. It's Game of Thrones Series 3 on Blu-ray. I'm just rewatching Series 1 and 2, so I'll be watching that one soon. I've already seen it. I love Game of Thrones, big Game of Thrones fan. I've got all the books. They are up there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, here. Ooh. Anyway, and then I also got the 2 issues of the Ultimate Graphic Novel Collection. So you've got Marvel Origins the 60s, which collects Fantastic Four issue 1, Amazing Fantasy 15, Incredible Hulk number 1, Daredevil number 1, Tales of Suspense issue 39, Uncanny X-Men number 1, Avengers number 1, Avengers number 4, Tales to Astonish 27, and Tales to Astonish number 44. And this is the first of the classics books. I'm a bit miffed that they forced this upon you, but I was probably going to end up getting it anyway. And then the second one was issue 57 of 60, and this is Wolverine Old Man Logan, Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. I'm looking forward to reading that one, actually. I've heard a few good things from my friends who have read it already. I had a big fat stack this week to read. That's another reason why it's a bit late. Got 13 books. I only actually managed to finish reading them on Saturday. And, yeah, I was busy on Sunday. I was working at a comic convention, which was cool, but it really did knacker me out. I got 2, so I'll go through them quickly and just do a few thoughts on some of the books. So we've got 10 Grand issue 7, published by Image, written by J. Michael Straczynski, and art by C.P. Smith. While C.P. Smith is no Ben Temple Smith, I've actually come round to his art, and I think it fits this book, especially for the whole being in Earth, being in limbo, being in Earth, being in hell, being in limbo, that sort of thing. I actually enjoy it. Joe is still working with this angel, trying to get to hell to save his wife, Laura. And there's some really nice action in this book between a group of angels from heaven coming down and trying to prevent Joe and this other angel, I think he's called Jehael, from getting to hell. Continues to be an enjoyable read. I don't think we're probably going to get many more issues of this book. I think it will probably end on issue 10 or 12, because we're so far from the original premise. I don't know if we could go back to that now. But anyway, I've still enjoying the ride. I know a few people have dropped it because of the change in artist. I still enjoy it. So 10 Grand issue 7, good book. And then my final indie this week, it's only got 2, also published by Image, Manifest Destiny issue 4, written by Chris Dinges and art by Matthew Roberts. This is a great book. I really enjoy this book. We continue to follow Lewis and Clark as they are waiting for Sacagawea, who in real life was the guide to Lewis and Clark as they headed west. She is a badass Indian in this, who slays monsters. We don't see much of her in this issue. It's sort of, she kind of comes in halfway through. I do want to show you the page, because this book continues to have some of the nicest art in all of comics. So the sick person from last issue is still pretty sick. He is in bed and with a guard 24/7. I just really love that page. And basically, the people who are already at the fort that Lewis and Clark were eventually arrive at last issue, they say that they should kill this poor soul who has been infected by whatever it is that turns people into these plant zombies. Whereas the guy says he feels fine. He obviously isn't. He looks ill. He's been coughing. He's been like feeling like death. And then the very last page, we get this reveal of him turning into a sort of sentient plant zombie. If you're not picking up Manifest Destiny, I highly recommend picking it up. It has a new creative team who have never done any other stuff. They're both brilliant. The writing is brilliant, and the art is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I really love it. It's always the last book since issue 2. It's been the last book I read, which is the highest compliment I can give to a comic book, because how I read my books is I read them least excited to the most excited. So I've always got that last book, which I really can't wait to read. So Manifest Destiny issue 4, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm just going to skim over my 4 DC books this week. One of them wasn't that great. We got Justice League of America issue, I think 12. Yeah, 12. Matt Kint and Eddie Barrows on art. We just got more of the same. Stargirl and Martian Manhunter. There's a twist at the end where one of the characters might have died, but we know they haven't because he or she have been on the cover of upcoming issues, so good marketing with DC. So I'd have to give JLA a miss. It's just so slow. You know, we could have done with 1 or 2 of these issues to tie in with Forever Evil. I'm really disappointed in this series. We're so far gone from the government-funded JLA team that was meant to oppose the Justice League. It's just been bogged down by tie-ins with Trinity War and Forever Evil. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in Justice League of America. I had high hopes for the book because I really like the team. Next we move on to Injustice, Year 2, Issue 2. This one focuses on Green Lantern, both Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan supports Superman, and Guy Gardner is on the side of the Guardians, who are trying to protect Earth. So that has a nice semi-throwdown in the book. Then we've got another storyline with Sinestro coming to help Superman, and also Hippolyta coming up from Paradise Island to help Wonder Woman after what happened in the last issue. I continue to enjoy this book. It has brilliant writing by Tom Taylor. So if you're reading Justice League and you feel a bit let down by the quality of the book, this one is a cheaper book, and it tells a much more interesting story, in my opinion. I think if you do like Justice League, go back and get the first 2 trades of Injustice and pick up the last issue of Year 2. You won't be disappointed. It's a really good book. Next, I want to talk about Batman issue 28, which Nerdy McNerdy called Batman Eternal issue 0, and that's really the best way to describe this book. It's everything happens leads into Batman Eternal, and there are a lot of questions in this book that need answering, like how did Harper Row gain the mantle of Bluebird, who's a really interesting character, and a character which I will enjoy finding out more about in the pages of Batman Eternal, because I will obviously be picking up that book, which my wallet wept a little bit, but how I'm doing it is pretty cool. I think I'll probably be getting 4 issues at a time with a slight discount, so that's the way I'll be doing it. The writing in it, I think it's written, it says Scott Snyder and James Tynion the 4th. How I think it's done is like it was the first couple of issues of Talon, which I really enjoyed. Those were when Scott Snyder plotted the book, and then James Tynion actually wrote the script, and I think that works really well, because James Tynion is like a Scott Snyder light when it comes to writing himself. He's like Snyder, but he's just not quite as good. But when Snyder's plotting it, it's bang on. There's a good reveal at the end. I don't want to spoil it too much. But anyway, I will be picking up Batman Eternal. Well, yes, we didn't need a break from the 11-issue story that is going on. I enjoyed it anyway. And finally for DC, probably my favourite DC book this week, Superman Wonder Woman, Charles Soule and Tony S. Daniel. I love this book. I continue to love this book. There is one page that I do want to show you. Obviously, I love Cliff Chang on normal Wonder Woman and how he draws Wonder Woman. But there's this one panel which it's beautiful. Tony S. Daniel's art it's great. I mean, here we've got Wonder Woman just staring down Zod. I'm trying to get out the glare. He draws Wonder Woman perfectly, in my opinion. I mean, literally perfectly. It's a great book. Continues to be a great book. We've got basically Zod and Faora versus Wonder Woman and Superman in this book. In this issue, anyway. I am worried about the tie-in that's going to be coming up with Action Comics and normal Superman, with the Doomsday tie-in. But we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. For now, it's a very enjoyable book. The only gripe I have with it is this cover, and it is the, in some of the comics covers, they have like a line just to advertise it, like a slogan. This one, it's Faora, her name means death. And I don't know if it's different on Krypton, but I don't know anybody called Death. I think if I don't have any children, but if and when I do, I don't think Death will even make it into the sort of top 1,000 maybe names for what we call the child. So, really, the parents were asking for trouble when they called their daughter Death. Anyway, great book. If the only gripe I've got with it is the saying on the front, you got to say something about the book. Next on to Marvel, which was the bulk of my books. We've got quite a lot this week. And I'd say, apart from Manifest Destiny, probably my favourite books are to be found in Marvel this week. Not one of those, but still a great book, was Revolutionary War issue 4. This one is focusing on Death's Head and Death's Head 2. I really, really like this book. I feel the Revolutionary War story is getting stronger with every issue. This one continues the trend of being very British. I mean, there's some funny moments in here. I can't put my finger on it, but it does just feel, and maybe it is just because it's the fact that it's set in England and it's set with all these British characters and all the writers are British. It does have that feel of a British book, and I've got to thumbs that up. I really enjoyed it. What was I going to say about it? Basically, I'd never seen anything with Death's Head, but I thought he was a great character in this, very funny. Just willing to do anything if the price was right, switching sides left, right and centre. I don't really know if this tied in all that much to the Revolutionary War as a whole, apart from the very end, sort of not the very end, but the last couple of pages. It was fun nonetheless. The best issue of Revolutionary War, I know a lot of people have dropped it. I would go back and pick it up. Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, issue 27.now, which is part 1 of the Goblin Nation. We've got Dan Slott writing it and Giuseppe Camuncoli. I've just got gammon on my mind. I love a bit of bacon, Anyway, back to the story. We got the first throwdown of Spock and Green Goblin, and it's very interesting. I really continue to enjoy this book. I do have 2 issues with it though. Firstly is J. Jonah Jameson's portrayal. I know he's got beef with Spider-Man, but going so far as to create an army of Spider Slayers after Spider Slayers are responsible for the death of your wife just seems a bit off to me. Anyway, that was sort of minor. The major one I had is, I'm not a massive Spider-Man, know-it-all, but I didn't think, the Spidey sense could go off if you're not actually there, because what happens in this book is he's using technology that he stole from one of Dr. Octopus's ex-lovers, who we saw in a couple of issues ago. I can't remember her name. Sorry, I've got a really bad throat. Not been very well lately. But his spider sense still manages to go off. And I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know if it could. Anyway, good book. It's the first issue of the Goblin War, so a lot of action happens in it, especially towards the end. We get the all-out war between the Green Goblin army and the Spider Island. I can't wait for next issue to see how that continues and how that plot continues. Interesting was the use of the number 31 in this book, because we know now that Superior Spider-Man is only going to last 31 issues. This issue is set 31 days after the previous issue. Peter Parker only has 31 memories left, so it's just revolved around this number 31. I think it was Scott, Grade A Comics, he was the first person to point that out, and I did go back and read it, and he's so right, he's so right. Good book nonetheless, and I think Goblin Nation will probably be Superior's strongest arc, and it's been a really good book. I will be sad to see it go, because I have enjoyed pretty much every issue. It got a bit iffy with the Spidey 2099 stuff, but apart from that, I've really enjoyed it. We'll go X-Force next. Issue 1, Si Spurrier and Rocky Kim. This issue revolves around the premise that every nation has their own Black Ops team, so why don't the Mutant Nation? We got Cable, we got Psylocke, we got Fantomex and Marrow. And really, these three here, I don't mind so much. My main problem on this book is Fantomex. I don't like how he comes across as a bit of a sleazeball. And I know he's meant to be French, but just throwing in random French words every now and then, there's got to be better ways of characterising Fantomex. I've never read anything, so if anybody wants to fill me in on who Fantomex is, I don't know who he is. I think he's an assassin. He seems to be an assassin anyway. But anyway, I really liked Marrow in this book, actually. I felt like she was a very strong narrator for this book, because she's, a new member to this team, just like we're a new reader to this book, and she's sort of filling you in with what's going on, and she seems to have a really weird power set, which is quite cool, like rapid bone growth. Like Dr. Monkeybot said, though, her use of the word baby every 5 words can get a bit old, but apart from that, I really like her character, actually, and I look forward to seeing more. Next we've got Psylocke, who I've not read actually much Psylocke, and I really enjoyed her in this book. She seems to be not a pacifist, but she's unwilling to kill, which is cool. Like, we'll see how long that lasts, and I'm not going to say it even lasts past this issue, but it might do. But yeah, she seems to be sort of the most grounded of the characters in the book, and I like that. And finally we've got Cable, who's obviously the hardened veteran, the leader of the team, and sort of the character who, in the tough times, he's there, and he's the one that's pulling on the strings, he's the one that's coming up with the game plan, And I'm enjoying this. There is another character, Dr. Nemesis, who I can't leave out, because in the few issues of Cable and the X-Force I read, I love Dr. Nemesis. He's really funny, he's completely insane, but yeah, he's great. He's trying to teach Marrow about, like, trans-dimensional stuff, and it's just not going in at all. My main problem with this book, apart from Fantomex, is the art, and while for the most part I didn't mind it, my main problem with it is that everyone's Asian, and obviously I don't have a problem with people being Asian. It's the fact that all the characters are Asian. That's just how Rocky Kim decides to draw them, and that's a shame, because it does take away from the book when a certain character isn't Asian but is portrayed as one. I will be picking up the second issue. I will probably hold out for the first arc, see if they get a change on the artist, but at least for issue 1 it wasn't make or break, but I could see it becoming make or break. yeah, it was a good enough book, and I enjoyed it. Next, we got cover of the week, going to All New X Factor. This is issue 3. Peter David and Carmine DiGiandomenico. I've completely destroyed that name, and I'm really sorry. Yeah, it's there. I've said it before, maybe once, and I was like, hell yeah, I said that name, and I haven't been able to say it since. It's a bit of tongue twister for me. Anyway, 3 things I love in life. Obviously my girlfriend, comic book reading, and cats. And this combines 2 of those, comic books and cats. And Gambit is quickly becoming one of my, moving up on my favourite characters leaderboard, because his love of cats is pretty cool. I'm not going to dwell too much on this book. I'm just going to say, if you're not reading All New X Factor, I think you should give it a go. I've only heard good things about Peter David, so I can only imagine it's going to get even better. Which is saying something, because I did really enjoy the first mini arc, the first 2 issues. And I really like where this one's going. It's very Gambit central, and I think Gambit does work as a central character, your focal point of the comic book. So yeah, good book. And finally, probably my 3 favourite books of the week, just so happens to be the last 3 books I'm going to do quick thoughts on. We got Thor, what's that, issue 19? Issue 19, Point Now, part 1 of The Last Days of Midgard. We got All New X-Men, issue 23, which is part 3 of 5 of the Trial of Jean Grey. And we got Avengers, issue 26. I think I'll probably start on All New X-Men. Just go in alphabetical order, Obviously, Brian Michael Bendis, Stuart Immonen. Great book. Perfect balance of humour, action and storytelling. Cyclops wakes up and he's on a spaceship for one. He's surrounded by the Guardians, which include a talking raccoon and a talking tree, who Angel and Iceman are just completely obsessed with. And yeah, it's just a bit more of character building and Guardians filling in the plot holes of the book, why the Shi'ari Empire have kidnapped Jean Grey. And then the second part of the book focuses on the first part of the interrogation of Jean Grey. And I don't think it's very clever giving Jean all this information, young, unstable Jean, all this information of what she did, who she killed, just giving her more motivation, making her angry, making her scared. It's just asking for trouble, and I think we're probably going to end up seeing something with the Phoenix, maybe, I don't know. I don't think we can anymore after Avengers vs. X-Men, but we'll see. Continue to really enjoy this book. The ending is cool. I don't know anything about that character, but a certain character has a relative turn up who they thought was dead. The art is great. I think Stuart Immonen is a brilliant artist. I've not seen him do anything else before or heard of him, but he does both the Guardians. Obviously, we've seen him do the X-Men before and we love it, but him doing the Guardians is just great. We get some brilliant pages like this. It's just brilliant comic book art, and for me, art is it's a 50-50 split for me. Obviously, it's got to look good and the story's got to be good. And in this case, it's both. So I can't ask much more in a comic book. Next, I'll just go to Avengers issue 26. I know not many of you are reading it. I know Dr. Monkeybot's reading it, which I am thankful for, because it's great to hear somebody else's thoughts on what's, in my opinion, one of the strongest Marvel books out at the moment. We've got Jonathan Hickman and I can't remember his first name, LaRocca on art. I really continue to enjoy this book. From last issue, I feared it would be a bit like All New X-Men, but it's completely different. It's just tying up New Avengers and normal Avengers much, much closer. We continue to have AIM sort of just punching into other universes, punching into other Earths and taking samples and capturing these Avengers. And using these things called adaptoids, who look awfully lot like the builders that we see in New Avengers. It's great. If you thought Infinity was big, I think this storyline with Avengers and New Avengers is going to be even bigger. And I have complete faith in Jonathan Hickman that it's going to be as awesome. And I can't say anything bad about this book, alright? I'm sorry. I don't know why you wouldn't be picking it up, other than the fact that if you don't like the Avengers. But if you do like the Avengers, if you like any of these characters, it's a brilliant book. It's much, much, much better than the Justice League, if we're looking in the same sort of ballpark. Yeah, I love it. I praise about it. I just praise about this book so much. And finally, we've got Thor, which is so back on track. It's brilliant. I don't know whether or not it's just the fact that we've got Asad Ribic back on art, but I think it's because it focuses once again on Thor from different generations. We've got Avengers Thor, and we've got Old Man Thor, who's like King Odin Thor, and his granddaughters. This storyline seems to be dealing with the fact that humans have destroyed Earth in one way or another. It seems to be that in Avengers Thor time, that's when it all starts, and Old Man Thor is sort of lamenting the fact that he couldn't do anything to stop it. There's a really cool page. I will actually get it up because Asad Ribic's art just adds to the feel of this book so much. I mean, there's a bit where he's because it basically focuses on Roxxon Industries and Shield trying to stop what he's doing, because basically they're melting the ice caps, which is obviously reducing the amount of drinking water that the planet has. But Roxxon Industries at the same time is mining a moon, one of Jupiter's moons, for water, and bringing this brilliant, lovely fresh water from Jupiter's moon to Earth and selling it at a higher price. And not only are they, instigating global warming, but they're also making profit from it. And obviously Thor and Shield aren't going to have any of that. And there's a brilliant scene where Thor just drops this massive bit of ice. He's like, "Hey, is this going to be enough to quench the thirsts of all people on Earth?" And it's just, he's obviously gone to Jotunheim, and there's this great scene where people are like, "Where did this come from?" And there's no words. There's just boom, him just laying the smack down on a frost giant. There's the last page reveal with Old Man Thor and his granddaughters of a character which I think is actually going to be an ally of Thor in some way or another. Someone who depends on Earth, who, wants what Earth has. Like, it's a villain, but, they need Earth. I think this is going to be the villain, who I want to say now may be the leader of the Roxxon Industries. Very interesting premise. For a Thor book, you don't think you're going to get some environmental sort of book that, but it really worked. I heard a few people doing their reviews. I saw a couple of advanced reviews on some of these websites. I've obviously read the solicitation, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but what I got exceeded all my expectations. If you dropped off on the last story arc, I would probably jump back on this one, although I would say go back and get issue 18, because that was a brilliant story with young Thor and a drunk dragon dealing with his drinking issues. It was a brilliant issue, and issue 19 is, keeping the quality high of these books. Now, I'm sorry this has gone on for, 30 minutes already. I didn't want this to be a long video. I want to just go back to bed and rest up. I think I've got another day off tomorrow. I don't think I'll be going to work tomorrow again. Still feeling really funny. Probably catch up with some Game of Thrones. I'm still reading through Peter Panzerfaust, my deluxe edition, which I'm loving. I think it's a brilliant book. Hopefully, when I finish that, I can do a review for it. What else do I want to say? Hopefully today also we'll be getting the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. I can't wait to see that. Also, a bit of comic book news that I will be getting is the new Cyclops book. Greg Rucka is writing it. Is it Greg Rucka? Yeah, yeah, it is. Greg Rucka will be writing it, and I can't wait for Cyclops. I'm obviously a big Cyclops fan. It's young Cyclops in space with pirates, so I'm going to be picking that book up. I've taken too much of your time already. You've had to stare at my sick face for too long. I'm just going to get out of these clothes now, get back in my Jimmy Jams, crawl into bed and go to sleep for a bit while this video uploads. Hopefully I'll be feeling better for my next review, and I'll have it done by the end of the week instead of the same week that you're getting next week's books. I hope you all enjoyed your comic book reading this week, and I hope you have a fantastic week again. Till next time, toodles.